Alright, today we are playing one of the cards I was most excited about in the new Final Fantasy set in this Vintage League, and that is Traveling Chocobo. Now, I like the little neon kind of art where it changes around in Magic Online too. Now, this is actually a very powerful card, just unironically, this is a good card. Now, there's a lot of text on here, so let's just go through this quickly and try and parse this. So, you can look at the top of your library anytime. You may play lands and cast bird spells at the top of your library. Now this effect is very good. This is card advantage that gets around things like Orcish Bowmaster, which are still pretty popular in Vintage. And, occasionally you'll see something like a Hull Breacher or a Leovold or whatever. This kind of card advantage is quite good, similar to how Stockout gets around all of these, draw hate pieces. So obviously when you do this, you want to have lands in your deck. That one's a pretty simple ask. And we want some bird spells, right? Let's go to the next part. This is important. So in addition to just being card advantage from the second line there, it also has an ability. And the ability is actually pretty good too. The ability is, if a land or bird you control entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Now, it's really important to read this clearly, understand that the land or bird entering causes the triggered ability, it doubles. The ability does not have to be a land or a bird. You can have something like Tifa from the new set in play. And Tifa says whenever a land enters, you double Tifa's power. So the land entering would trigger that. Or if you have a permanent in play that says when a creature enters, a bird entering will double that trigger. So the land or bird entering doubles the trigger, but the permanent that you have on the battlefield does not have to be a land or a bird. It can be anything. I think that's an important thing to understand here. But obviously you get kind of double benefit here if it's a bird with the trigger, because you can play the bird from the top of your library, and then when it enters, it gets double triggers right away, because it itself is a bird. So that's the best way to abuse this, but you don't have to. You can just, trigger the abilities of, the obvious thing is landfall triggers, right? You play a land to the top of your library, and you get double triggers with this. That's kind of, one way to build this. What I went with here is a kind of taking the bug control, bug mid-range shell that exists in Vintage and adjusting it to incorporate, this powerful engine card and really, really fun art too, card here in Traveling Chocobo. Now, I'm just going to get the big question out of the way here is, why is there no Nadu in this deck? Nadu is the best bird in Magic, right? The thing is, we're in Vintage where playing a bunch of 3+ drops in your deck, unless you're really ramping into them and they have an immediate effect, is not a great way to play usually. If you start out in Vintage with 4 Traveling Chocobos and 4 Nadu, you're already pretty high on the curve here. The other thing is, outside of the fact that Nadu is a bird, it doesn't really play that well with Traveling Chocobo. Like, yes, you can play Nadu from the top of your library, and yes, if Nadu and Traveling Chocobo are both in play, you do get, let's say somebody swords Nadu, you do get, double triggers from that, but that's not that big of a deal. I think they're just for different decks, at least in Vintage. I think Nadu, you want just a very different cast here of cards that specifically are, like a Fedo Alchemist, Nomads and Korishuko, that kind of thing to focus on. And I think with Traveling Chocobo, you just want to focus on these synergies here. Now, will I try a version with Nadu and Traveling Chocobo at some point? Maybe. Is it, silly to try it? No, I think it's, still a powerful thing you can do. But I think if you want to maximize Traveling Chocobo, at least in Vintage, you want Traveling Chocobo to be the top of your curve, and then I think there's many different ways to try and break it. I think Tifa was one card I was looking at the beginning. I decided not to do Tifa this time I think you just want to look at, kind of landfall synergy abilities. I think is, probably the strongest way of doing this, or other things like that. Like you can play at the top with this to try and, look at the top cards of your library and play stuff. Any sort of manipulation there is good. There's a lot of things you can do with this card. But I think trying to jam it into a Nadu shell is not the best way, personally. Now, I'm open to being wrong here if somebody figures that out. Anyway, so that was a bit of a long-winded rant there, but what we're doing here is we're playing a bug shell with the bird synergies. So what bird synergies do we have? I think the most obvious one is Baleful Strix. Baleful Strix is a bird, and when it enters, you draw a card, and this you can play this from the top of your library with Traveling Chocobo, and when it enters, the ability triggers additional time. So with Traveling Chocobo in play, you can play Baleful Strix on the top of your library, it enters, and you draw 2 cards because the ability triggers twice. That's really strong, obviously. Now, we're in a format where Orcish Bowmaster is on a bit of a decline right now because it doesn't really do anything against Stock Up, which is the best card in, the best non-Force of Will 4 of card in Vintage, 4 of Spell in Vintage right now. But it's still around, so we're going to play some other things that can deal with that. So one of the cards that we're playing in here to deal with Orcish Bowmasters is Mockingbird. You can play this for blue and any other mana, and if there's an Orcish Bowmaster on the field, it'll come in as a copy of Orc and kill the Orc. You can play it for top of your library, and it pitches the Force. I think that's pretty cool. This can also just copy anything else. You copy your Deathrite Shaman, you can copy your Collector Ouphe for redundancy there. You can copy, a White Plume Adventure and take the initiative. It's got a lot of utility. And of course it's a bird, so we can play it from the top here, and then when it enters, if we have a trigger, we get double them. So like, Traveling Chocobo, copy, stuff, get multiple triggers from it. That's pretty strong synergy potentially. In order to deal with Orcish Bowmasters, we also have just some random main deck removal. These are fatal. These are just fatal pushes, but they're the Final Fantasy art version of them. But they're just fatal pushes. We've also got Assassin's Trophy. We can also just Force of Will an Orcish Bowmaster and then try and eat it out of the yard with our Deathrite Shaman, which also one of our main ramp cards in this deck. We've got Force of Will and Collector Ouphe as just the standard best bug protection spells. In addition there, we've got some Spell Pierces to try and deal with, stock ups, POs, and other stuff. Now, I think the one on the sideboard probably should be a Flusterstorm. I don't like playing Flusterstorm and REB and those kind of cards main deck. Yes, Stock Up's the best thing to be doing in Vintage right now, but Mono White Initiative and Shops are both strong decks as well, and I see a lot of play. So I personally don't love playing those kind of narrow hate pieces like Fluster and REB main deck. I like Spell Pierce because that's pretty good against all of these things. Like if you go land, pass against Mono White Initiative, then I play a Mox, you can snap off your Spell Pierce to try and delay them and get them into the game. One of the big problems Bug has against Mono White Initiative is you're playing this low Mox and kind of mid-range Prison-y deck, and they can just kind of be a lot faster than you. So hitting a Mox can be huge and slowing them down and getting them to play at your speed. But yeah, I think in the sideboard this probably should be a Fluster. We've also got other bird synergies here. So we've got Ledger Shredder, which again, play it from the top with Traveling Chocobo. When it comes into play, you get to connive twice. So you can, when a connive triggers twice with Traveling Chocobo in play, it'll double it. You'll get, to do this twice. Pretty cool. Fastbond's another important card in the deck. And this card combos with these 6 here. So one of the cool things you can do with Fastbond is, let's say you got, look at the top of your library, let's say you play a land. Let's say the next card's a land, you play that one as well. So you can keep filtering all the lands from the top of your library with Traveling Chocobo. I think that's pretty sweet. So I'm excited to be trying out the Fastbond Traveling Chocobo synergy to keep our top of our library free of lands to keep playing them. Similarly, we've got Glacierwood Siege here, which lets you play in the Sultai ability at the bottom, play lands from your graveyards that can set up a Wasteland or Strip Mine a lock when you got Fastbond plus Glacierwood Siege, or it can also just bring back your fetch lands, you know, whatever. So Fastbond is very strong with these 6. It's really bad in this deck without those 6 though, so we're only playing 2. We'll see how that goes. We're only at 19 lands. We're never really going to go, you know, Fastbond, land. You know, it's going to be very uncommon here, but it's not really a turn 1 card in this deck. It's kind of like a mid-game card with these to, you know, set up an engine, which is pretty good, but it might be too cute. Like, I'm excited for this little engine to try out, but it might be better in a deck where, like, you are playing a lot of lands and Traveling Chocobo. That might be, like, a different way of building this, but we're going to try this for now. I think we covered most of the cards. We got Sazh Chocobo. Now, this is a little memey. You don't have to play this card when you play this deck, but it does some fun things. You play it from the top again with Traveling Chocobo. It's a bird. And then with Traveling Chocobo in play, its ability doubles. So whenever a land comes into play, you get 2+1/+1 counter. So this Traveling Chocobo and a fetch makes it a 4 or 5 right away. So this can get absolutely huge with Traveling Chocobo, which is pretty cool. And then lastly, in main deck here, we've got Bartz and Boko. This is the removal spell bird. Got affinity for birds, so you can play it for, you know, 3 or 4 mana, sometimes 2, pretty often, and then from the top of your library as well with Traveling Chocobo. And you can double the ability if you got Traveling Chocobo, which is pretty cool. It can turn into kind of a one-sided wrath potentially, depending on how you set this up, but you can destroy opponent's creatures. Now, I'm not 100% sure of this, but I think if you use Baleful Strix and Bartz, because of the death touch, to just kill the creature straight up. Not 100% sure on that, but I think that's how that works. Now we just got lands. We're playing 4 Collector Ouphe to turn up artifacts, so we're just playing the on-color Mox and Lotus here. That's pretty standard for Bug. Got obvious restricted cards here, Recall, Misstep, Tutor, Time Lock. I don't think need any introduction. The sideboard, we're pointing at a few different things. We've got Leyline the Void and Grafdigger's Cage for Dredge, Countervine, Cages coming against Oath of Druids, Force of Negation, and Spell Pierce against combo decks. And again, the Spell Pierce probably should be a fluster. And then these 6 cards here are for the creature matchups. So against, like, Lurrus Control, a lot of our cards aren't very good. So we're bringing in all 6 of these to try and improve the, game 2 improve the Lurrus Control matchup. So we got Bartz and Boko, Assassin's Trophy, 2 Okos, and then the extra 2 Fatal Pushes. And if you're still here, like and subscribe. That's really appreciated. If you have any comments, put them down below, because that helps the algorithm and stuff. And I'll see you in round 1. Alright, here we go again. Our opponent's got a Lurrus. I think I do want to keep this. It is risky, obviously, but I think it has enough upside here. Yeah. I'm going to be pretty aggressive on the mana denial here. Bayou. Okay. They bend a land. They actually have too many lands. Not a good sign for us in our destroy their land strategy. Okay. Yep. Well, we're going nowhere fast here, but sure. Okay. Turn 10. Opponent has no lands. We played Wasteland, Strip Mines, Wasteland. They played Wasteland, Wasteland. 5 Wastelands played. And then we got our Collector Ouphe here. What a game. Alright, what do I want? I want my Okos, my trophy, my pushes, probably Bartz. What do I not want? Don't want Force of Will. Don't want Fastbond. Not really. I'm not sure if Collector Ouphe. Quite a few cards I don't really want here. I don't really want Baleful Strix either, to be honest. Just dies to stuff orcs, but maybe they'll take out some of those. Alright, let's give this a whirl. Yep. Yep. This represents Orcish Bowmaster, right? So I think I just do this. No orc. Interesting. I don't want to buy Lurrus. I think we just hold up our stuff right now. Let's see if this gets a response. Pushing it. That's fine. Maybe they really don't have orcs. I like the top card. Okay. Ponder. Is this a combo deck? Tutor. Alright. Maybe I have misjudged what's going on here. don't think they tutored for that. Okay. Yep. Well, we're gonna fire it off. They're gonna counter it, I guess, but we're gonna snuff out our Chocobo. Alright. Okay. Yep. Hmm. They've got nothing in their graveyard to bring back with Lurrus right now. Oh boy. That's a problem. Lurrus. We've got Lurrus in hand, we don't know what else. So do we want to kill their orc? Or do we want to draw another Strix? Do we want another Strix? I think we want a Strix, actually. No, we don't. Because the orc will just kill it. Lurrus. That's not what we want. Does this work? Forget how Revolt works. I guess that works. We're still in a lot of trouble here. I think Bartz and Boko are our best draw. Yeah, it is that one. Oh, there's only one creature. We can kill a creature here. It's probably the construct token. We're just gonna swing out here. Okay. We're just F6 here. Yeah, treasure cruise? Crap. Could get them out of this. Take the recall. Ah, shit. So we can hit them for 2 and they can go up to more. They're representing second orc, so I'm going to let it go. Again, they have a Orcish Bowmaster, we lose. And we got there. That was a close match. That was a good one. Alright, off the next round. Alright, here we go again. It's the kind of hand where we could just get blown out immediately, but I don't think we mulligan it. Our opponent is in deep thought on their turn 1 pair. Alright, we've been hit by Voidmere. So we're up against mono white here. And if that Mox Sapphire was a land, we'd actually be in really good shape. And that's it. Now we gotta see what their follow-up is here. Hopefully it's like an Archon. Archon would be good. Or Archon would be we could deal with that one. Most of the other creatures we can't actually deal with. Like, they go white plum here, we're in a lot of trouble. Probably should have a basic in our deck. And they're naming Cleric, white plum. White plum. Anointed Peacekeeper. Alright, so we have to fetch. They hit our fetch land, we're in trouble. Fatal push. Yep, that makes sense. play our Strix here. Hope to hit a land. We do. I think we do get aggressive here. I think we hit the tomb. We can hit him with another Wasteland next turn. Oh, well, that's pretty good against us. Yep. Now we need a swamp. Okay. Yeah, can't do anything there. We get a black land, then we can Demonic Tutor. Ah, shit. Alright, now we're in a lot of trouble. We have been bested. Probably just hit a lot more natural mana sources than we did. They don't actually play a ton of land. That's almost a land. We didn't get hit twice, we'd be okay on that one. We have to block it. We have no choice. Oh shit. Really? Okay. We don't draw a land here, I'll just scoop. Yeah. That's unfortunate. That went a lot worse than it could have. I think the Okos are better than the Sieges. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We're really low on blue count if we do this. think we need the fawns. Don't really want the fawns, I think we need them. Just for blue count. I mean, I don't think we can keep that. I guess they got a Chancellor. Nope, they're just mulling to 5. Play our Chocobo here. See what our opponent has for us. Ancient Tomb. Mox Pearl Ship. White Plume. Alright. Play our Misty. Play our Baleful Strix. Get our 2 triggers with doubles because of the Traveling Chocobo ability. Black, blue. And then we'll take the initiative. Dungeoneer, Witch Enchanter. That's fine. Put that on our Chocobo. Cast this one. Blue, black, draw, draw, you leave one back just in case. Yeah, we're definitely blocking. Yeah, that's fine. Trap. Our Wasteland. We can blow them up. And we just swing. Alright, so we got a tough game 3 here. I don't like the Collector Ouphe on the draw, really. Probably have some amount of swords they're bringing in, so I'm going to bring in the Misstep. I actually think I want the Chocobo more than the Ouphe here. Yeah, I guess something like that. And we have to keep it, but any strong hand does beat us here, so. I think we allow it. We do got to draw a land. Okay. Fatal push, yep. And think we just let it go, right? Yeah, boy. Let's see what their follow-up is. Okay. That's not a good one. All right. That's pretty good. Maybe I shouldn't have done that because we're drawing the Oko next turn. I think I should have waited. Regret this. We have nothing right now. That was actually kind of dumb. Yeah. We can make a copy of our Deathrite Shaman. Okay. And we got there. That was pretty cool. Alright, next round. Okay, here we go. We've got one land. No Force of Will. We can go turn one Deathrite Shaman, but I don't think that beats anything, really. So, we have no way of making black mana right now for our push. I think that's a mulligan. Okay. Keep. This is a tough one. I'm gonna put back one of the lands. You have 2 draw steps to find another mana here. Let's see if they want to counter our Time Walk. I think we're probably against Doomsday. Play our Chocobo. This lets us play lands and birds off top of our library and doubles their abilities, like double Baleful Strix, etc., etc. Okay. Yeah, they got so many versions of it. Alright, we're dying to Doomsday this turn. Dark Ritual. Yep. Necro. I'll try and force it. They're going to force back, or they're going to spell pierce it. Almost certainly. Daze. Maybe there was a case just not to be honest, and just to pass. You know, they get to refill their hand. Alright, so they got a Doomsday in their hand then. can't play that. You should probably have a Scryland in here. Forgot to put a Scryland in this deck, but a Scryland will be very nice right about now. Yeah, that would be nice, just not this turn. I assume we're just dead here. Okay. Alright. I want my Collector Ouphe back now. And play the Wasteland. We will Wasteland them. We don't have our Fastbond, so we can't do anything more than that. This puts them to 2. They can't use Street Rape, so they have to use, in order to dig into their deck here, they have to use an actual cantrip. So we will attempt to Spell Pierce this, but since they're at 2 and not at 1, we probably just die because they force back. They've drawn a bajillion cards. Take a look at their deck though, but it's probably just no Lurrus standard Doomsday, it seems. There are Traveling Chocobo changing colors there, it's all cool. The nice thing about Doomsday online versus in paper is you gotta use your whole clock to resolve it there. Alright, and they're done. Now we're dead. And we'll try and Spell Pierce something just because we might as well give it a shot, but we're dead. So they go for the Ponder. We Spell Pierce it. They force it. And we die. And they cantrip. Yeah, they just have to play like another Ponder Preordain here. Yep, that'll do it. Okay, game 2. Why is this so big? We want to up the blue count here and take out some of our removal. So I'm going to bring in the Oko just as a blue card. I think I'm going to play the Ouphe. I think that's about right. Okay. Oh boy. I think we can do better. You really need to draw a blue card, though. Yeah, we should definitely have a Surveil land in here. This feels like a mistake. Feels like a mistake because it was a mistake, but... I think we just... I'm expecting them to have counters up, so I think we're just going to start with the Ouphe here. Obviously we're in some trouble here if they just go for the win. They don't want their gush. Alright. Please draw a Mox. Yeah. We obviously would have countered that if we could. So. Well, that's not great. We just play out our Ouphe again. Alright, well, they know we can't do anything now. I think we just get a recall here. That we cannot counter. Blue, black. Demonic Tutor. Sure. Lotus. Sure. Doomsday. Um, we gotta play a little aggressive here. Green. feel super duper dead. Blue, blue. Oracle. Sure. And we force it. And they force back and we die. Maybe they just held the... I don't know what else is in their hand. It could be their counter spell, but I feel like maybe if we would have held could have won. I don't know. Felt very losing regardless. Alright, here we go. This we cannot keep. Oh boy. I guess we can keep this. I do not like it though. Definitely feels like we're in trouble here. Shit. Need to draw a Wasteland. That might not even be enough. Oh, it's okay. Okay. That's a problem. Okay. Okay. That's a problem. Can't swords the hollow. Can't push the hollow one. This is mana value 4 or less. Try and get our take off their engine here. Well, I got 2 more. It's a problem. Oh boy. That is a lot of card draw. Don't see how we ever beat this, but... we gotta force that one. Okay. Ah, that's not good. That costs too much right now. I think we gotta hit Vengevines. got their Vengevines back, so that means we're dead. I think. Yeah, Vengevine, okay. We want our Leylines. I do want Spell Pierce. Don't want Collector Ouphe. I do want Trophy. Boko. Maybe one Force of Will. Let's try that. And that's a do nothing hand. I think we can keep that. I don't love it though. Okay. We got Hollow one. Fury. Okay. I see. Well, that Fury is about to hurt. Really need a Wasteland right here. This gets countered, we're in bad news, but we gotta go for it. Alright, doesn't do anything this turn, but we can attack. No, that's bad. Double Vengefine, that's a problem. No, oh shit. They could definitely kill us with Vengevines here, but is what it is. No, I got the wrong color. Shit. Okay, well, if we lose because I grabbed the wrong color, that's on me. Yep. All they need is 3 Vengevines here. They got 2 in the yard. They just dig for Vengevine, and then they get 3, and they win. Vengevine? Yeah, they didn't find their Vengevine. Alright, we live somehow. Maybe we should try and protect the stuff more. Give that a try. Keep. Play a Leyline. Alright, let's try and play our Chocobo. Green. Play Chocobo. Chocobo. Chocobo, Chocobo, Chocobo. Chocobo, Chocobo, Chocobo. I think we want to force that. Alright. They got a wall up. That's fine. Sapphire. We'll get our double trigger here. Chocobo, Chocobo, Chocobo. And we got there. Good game. Alright, here we go. Again, I don't love it, but I think it's a keep. Crap. Yep. Sure. I'm going to throw this into the Chancellor trigger. Nope. Nope, 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 nope. She's in Dungeoneer. That's a problem. Yep. Feel like we're in trouble here. Yeah, you got it. And your follow-up is... That is also a problem. I think we have to get a push here. We could wait till their turn, but I think we're just dead anyway, so doesn't really matter. I hope they name Traveling Chocobo and I can at least get a screenshot of this with Traveling Chocobo on it. Yeah, I'm just gonna. They got it. Are we lagging? Are we lagging too bad? Oh, no, now we're back. Bring in our removal. Alright, we'll give this a try. One land, I don't think we can keep that. Oh boy. I think we have to keep it, but I don't love it. Maybe I should have just left open the Spell Pierce. I think we let the first Chrome Mox go. Oh, they just had a... Alright, now I feel silly. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I should have hit the strip mine. Kind of regret not hitting the strip mine now. Yeah, I should hit the strip mine. I see. I don't know. I think we can just scoop it up. I'm not sure how we win this one. Okay, so overall, pretty happy with that league, even after our rough start here. I'm probably going to reorder this. I think the second game here against Mono Initiative was pretty bad. I'll probably put that one towards the end. And then we definitely had some play against Doomsday here, but I'll probably put that one towards the middle. It wasn't super interactive or anything, but we were definitely hanging in there with the Doomsday deck. We didn't quite get there, but I think if you watch that game in the second one, I think I made a pretty big mistake one turn there that cost us an opportunity to win that one. They were still close games. We got to do Traveling Chocobo things, which was fun. This one was just kind of a mess with non-games in there. So I'll put that one towards the end. That can happen in Vintage, and that's sort of what happened there. But then we rallied. We beat Lurrus Control pretty handily, which was cool. We redeemed ourselves against Mono White Initiative and won that one. And then we also beat Countervine, which was pretty good. So pretty happy with the league overall and the deck. A nice 3-2 trying out Traveling Chocobo. I definitely think it was powerful. There was a lot of Traveling Chocobo gameplay in this league. I think it really showed off some of its power here. So I'm pretty happy with the deck. I think the biggest issue right now is Mono White Initiative's a popular deck, and Bug is really not set up to be able to deal with it. I think the sideboard, if you want to play this right now, does need more anti-Mono White Initiative stuff, like Snuff Out, Virtue's Ruin, those kind of like really targeted anti-Mono White, but like pretty bad against other stuff, hate pieces. You probably do need a chunk of those in the sideboard. The Mockingbirds are a nice upgrade against Mono White that can do some cool things. Like, we are playing main deck removal and counter stuff, and we can kind of stop their mana, but in general, we're just slower on favor. The Strixes are nice against anything that is not Seasoned Dungeoneer. This is a really good card against Mono White Initiative. So I think we're actually a bit better than normal Bug against Mono White Initiative, or like probably like quite a bit better. So I think I would, I would be happier to play this sort of a build right now versus like traditional Bug, but our sideboard isn't really geared toward it. Like, we can bring in removal, but I do think we need a few more 2 or 3 kind of pointed Mono White Initiative pieces just because of the meta right now. So like Snuff Out and Virtue's Ruin come to mind. There's also, I think, a card called Needle Bite Trap. It does, if I remember right, pretty good things against Mono White. So I think that would be the big consideration there. Doomsday is not a big part of the meta, and we do have quite a few tools for Doomsday. I don't think that's a huge concern here. I would change the Pierce to Fluster, and maybe try and squeeze in one more Fluster into the sideboard. Maybe like -1 Cage, -1 Pierce, +2 Fluster, -1 Fatal Push, -1 Bartz and Boko, +2 either Virtue's Ruin or Snuff Out, something like that maybe. Not 100% sure. There's definitely ways to play around with the sideboarding here, but pretty happy with the main deck. I think the Bartz and Boko and the Sazh Chocobo are kind of like flex slots. You don't have to play these. You could play other cards. The Fastbond never really did anything. I think like the Fastbond Glacierwood Siege doesn't have to be in here. I think you could cut that package. But again, there's only a couple of games, and in theory, Fastbond does do great stuff with all of this. So I would be open to testing it again, but if you don't want the Fastbond Glacierwood Siege package, I think that's reasonable. Maybe keep like one Fastbond and one, I don't know. It's tough. We're trying to do a lot of things here, and there is a bunch of synergy overlap, but with synergy decks, it's kind of hard to get a good mix sometimes. But for the most part, pretty happy with the deck. I think it performed well. You could throw a like and a subscribe. That's appreciated to grow the channel here if you enjoyed this. And any comments, put them down below. Again, that also helps as well. This is all free to do and just helps the channel and me. And then I'll see you next time.